Hello! Welcome again to Tabletop Divinitatis, and it is Monday. We're doing our second one, and today me and the gang, we've had a talk about stuff of what we should be talking about next, and we're going to do tips on starting a gang for a campaign. This may either be your first gang, it might be your 10th gang, but it's just some tips about how to better progress and what to be thinking about when you first create the gang and where to go when you move on from there. Because we've all done it, we've all made a gang and not liked them or something's gone wrong, or we'd wish we'd thought about something earlier during the process. And it's normally something that happens to beginners when you first get into Necromunda. It's quite daunting. There's all these gangs, there's loads of different ones that you can pick from. It's hard to know how to start and how to spend that first 1,000 credits. So hopefully we'll do 5 tips today of things to think about, not what you have to do, but just things to be thinking about when you're doing your gang. So we shall start with number 1. Choose a gang that you like. Pretty simple start, and you've probably done this already, but just hear me out. So you're going to be doing this campaign with your friends for what, 12 games, 15 games, something like that. So weeks. You've invested time and money into this game that you're going to play, this campaign. So if you're going to do that, a good starting point will be picking a gang that you're actually going to enjoy, be it because of the lore, be it the modelling opportunities, be it because you kind of like the way that they play, you like what they do, you like characters that are associated with them, something like that. There needs to be, in that initial first point, think about why you're playing this game. Say it's Goliath. You've picked Goliath because 1, you love the way the models look, 2, you like the lore and everything like that. And maybe there's the gene smithing, you're really into that, and you thought, oh yeah, I really want to give that a go. Because there is nothing worse than you picking a gang that you are stuck with for the next 12 weeks or whatever, however long it takes. And you've not really thought about the future of the gang and how you're going to progress with it. Because you don't want to be 3 games in and be like, I don't like them. I didn't realise that this is what they did. And this is what they're about, and this is the characters, or this is what their options are, or something like that. Like, the last thing you want is to, like, say you picked a Saar gang and you were like, okay, they're quite elite, I don't get a lot of them, and they're just shooting. And then you start playing your campaign, you're like, I hate shooting, I want to be in combat. Well, you couldn't have picked anyone worse. Yeah, so think about that first. Think about like what you want your gang to do, because that will help the process of picking the gang. I know there's ways that you can make gangs work in all sorts of ways, that you can make them more combat effective or maybe more shooting effective, but there's always going to be a underlying theme with the gang. So just know what that's going to be before you want to take that, just so you're double sure, because you're committing your time, but you're also committing the time of the people playing the campaign with you. You don't want to be committing to this campaign and then 3 games in going, oh, I'm not bothered, I don't like the gang, it's just annoying me, I'm just going to drop out, because that's affected everybody. So yeah, so number 1 is choose a gang that you like and you're going to stick with for this time. So you've picked your gang, brilliant, that's amazing, you like them, everything's cool. So now you're going to create it, you're going to spend some credits and you're going to create the gang. So number 2, boys before toys. Now what I mean by that is, if you don't know, in the campaign people are going to die, or they're going to get injured and they're going to miss games. At the beginning of the campaign especially, it's very brutal because nobody's got a lot of stuff, and missing guys quickly will put you at a disadvantage very quickly as well. So maybe spend a few less credits on things like crazy armor and things like that, where you could get an extra ganger who you might not use him straight away, but if say your champion gets an injured and has to miss a game, you've got someone to step up. or in those early games in a campaign, especially in Dominion campaigns, you can bring all your gang. So more gangers, more opportunity to move around, to own the board, to control those areas. So boys before toys, and it does count. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to spend the bare minimum on equipment and get as many guys as humanly possible. That's not what I'm saying. With my Genestealer gang at the moment that I'm playing in our campaign with Tom, Matt and Chris, shout out to them, I went for more guys in the team. I had a couple of stellar guys, and then I had more guys to back them up with basic weapons, and it worked out quite well at the beginning, because I was able to dominate a few games quickly because I had the numbers on my side to contain, and I had people to back up when other people were missing a game, which was important. So that was point number 2. Now, point number 3 is understand. Now, this is not an easy one. It's a difficult one. You've got to understand what your gang does. Now, when I say that, I talked earlier about an example, like when you pick your gang, it's something that you like. So this is understanding how they progress and what they're supposed to be doing. I'm not talking crazy meta. I'm not talking like these optimum builds of how they do things. Just know and understand how best to use the gang that you've committed your time to. Let's go with, say, Saar again. Right, we know that they are technologically superior to a lot of the other gangs, so they're going to have access to these things. So you're going to get good weapons. Good weapons are expensive, so you're going to need to invest in those weapons. They're going to get armor quite quickly, so you need to know that so now we know that we've got good tech, we've got good armor, so I can build around that. Because they're not very tough, and in combat they're going to get smushed to bits. So let's work around that. What if I'm going to have plasma guns and I'm going to have armor? I can sit back. So then you can build around that, and then maybe you can add the flying Juve characters to do your board operations and things like that. Understand what your gang can do, so you've got something to build around. You don't have to go down one street. It's not one way. Nothing's ever one way in Necromunda. You can do a plethora of different things, but understand what your gang is good at. Let's take something like in our campaign at the moment, Chris is playing corpse grinders, and he's starting to understand now. It took him a while, but he's really getting it now. It's really starting to spark. Corpse grinders work really well with smoke grenades and movement, and he understands how they're supposed to operate. When GW wrote the gang, they had in mind of a close combat focused gang. So he's learning how to bridge that gap. So understanding what your gang does. Now that does not mean, and you can do it, but it doesn't mean that you spam like these meta options, because that's just bad for the game and it's bad for your group. Like the last thing you want is, say it was corpse grinders, all your initiates have got hand flamers, they could all infiltrate. It's just not good for the experience for the rest of the group. That's just an example. So try not to spam it out or anything like that. Keep to like a rule of 3 or something like that. That's what we're doing in our campaign now, sticking to a rule of 3, just to make the experience good for everybody else. So point number 3 was understand what your gang does, and then how they progress and how they become their top level of what they can be. So, chose the gang we like. We've got a few more boys to play with. That sounds bad, but boys before toys. And then we've also got an understanding of where the gang is going and what they need to be trying to achieve to make them better. So number 4 is understanding that weapons and equipment in Necromunda is a massive, massive pitfall. And it's a blessing at the same time, but it is a huge pitfall that your first couple of games that you play, or the first couple of gangs that you create, you're going to fall in this trap. regardless of experience, you always fall in this trap of there's these blingy items, there's these crazy blingy items that as you go through the campaign, you think, yes, let's get that. That's the most important thing. It's crazy. I've got carapace armor and it's amazing. It's not always the best. And there are ways of negating things as well. So understand what is going to work when it comes to your equipment and your weapons. Early on in a campaign, say you're in your first cycle, a strength 4 weapon with a little bit of AP is king. You're not going to be able to give that to everyone, but that is king in those early games. And then as you progress, everybody's going to get better, but you can build up from that. Obviously flamers and things like that, these are really good, and grenades, and for some gangs it will be something else. But understand, again, it's all right you giving a guy a huge multi-melter, yeah, for 1 billion points or whatever, but he's going to be target number 1 for a start. So everyone's going to just be like, I'm just going to kill that guy. Like in our campaigns at the moment, Matt, who's playing Delac, he's got a territory trait where he can just, before a game, he can choose an opponent's model and just say that can't take part in the game. It's incredibly powerful, but it means that if, like against me, he can literally take my heavy stubber guy out who's tooled up to the nines. He just say, can't use him, which is crazy. Ooh, the door just shut on me. Yeah, so thinking about weapons and equipment, when you get your credits, think about how to spend them without going overboard. Because also, now, remember when your guys die, sometimes you're going to lose everything as well. If they die, they get captured. That comes up a lot more now, being captured. Or maybe it's not right. And then they're stuck with those weapons. So yeah, so that was number 4. Weapons, always remember that weapons and armor and equipment are a pitfall, and you can trip up really easy. And then point number 5. So remember this, we're just going through some tips of things to think about and remember. Point number 5 is don't underestimate small advances and skills. Now, when I say that, take movement. Movement does not cost a lot of XP, but movement is probably one of the best advances you can do early. To be able to move quickly and get into positions quickly, especially with like your close combat characters, or even just scoring, like the guys that you know you're not going to be using, throwing into a fight or shooting a lot, but you've given them a skill that gets them around the board. A small skill like movement can be overlooked very quickly and be really important. And again, so that's an advance that's really simple, doesn't cost a lot of XP. Or maybe when you're creating your gang, thinking about the skills as well that you're giving your characters, that like your champions and your leaders, and maybe some other things that you might get. Some people might get skills. If you know your plan and you know the dudes that you've got and what they're supposed to do, then those skills that you're choosing and those things that they can do are going to be essential. And sometimes they might not be very sexy. You might have to choose a skill which it's not cool. It's not like Nerves of Steel, which is a great skill, but maybe more important than Nerves of Steel is making sure your guys stick around. So maybe you need to use the one that gives you a +2 bottle checks. Maybe there's a guy out there that's like, well, it's not cool, but I haven't got anything. Say your gang has got a lot of cool shenanigans with close combat. Maybe infiltrate's a skill that you need to be, if you've got access to it. Sometimes you're not going to have access to everything because you're not. You've only got certain trees that you can work from. But again, the flashy cool stuff, the crazy strengths and stuff like that is brilliant, but a faster guy sometimes, or a guy that just keeps your guys hanging around will turn out to be more important in the long run of the campaign. So those are 5 tips. So going through them quickly. Choose the gang that you like. Numbers over weapons to start with. Understand how your gang is meant to operate and how it can progress, because it will help you in the long run. Understand that weapons and equipment, I'll do it that way, weapons and equipment can be a negative thing as well as a positive. And 5, know and be aware of how to advance in your gang and what actually counts quickly. So yeah, those are some tips there. You don't have to use them. You might just be like, you're just talking shit. But they seem to be helping us, and when we've talked about it as a group, they've been really important, and we've, as we've played our games, we've understood where people have done really well with things. I'll just shout them out quickly. There's things, Matt's got some really cool things with his Delac, like he's chose his territories that he's got really well. He's won the exact right territory, so he's done that spot on. Chris, now he's got into the flow of corpse grinders, he's starting to win games, and he's starting to be a real threat and getting really dangerous. Now he understands what his gang's supposed to be doing. Tom had a bad start because he invested in some things very quickly, and now he's rolling. He's picked some really good skills, and he's picked some really good advances, and now his credits are just rolling and compounding, and it's getting really big. And Tom's really good at understanding a mission as well. Tom knows how to win a game. He doesn't always win, but he knows how he's trying to win, which is really good. And my gang started off, I'm currently second in the rankings. My Genestealer gang, I had the plan at the beginning of how I was going to use them, and they started off well. I had 2 bad games in the middle, and they took a bit of a pounding, but we're back up. But I had the plan of what I wanted my gang to do, and so that's really helped me. Hopefully in the future we will show you some of the games that we play, maybe filmed a multiplayer game that we've got at some point. But Necromunda is so good, it's so rich with flavour and all the different things you can do. No other game really, you get so many options and this build quality of things that you can do with a gang and make them so personal. No other game does that. No other game really that I know. I'm a huge Heresy fan. There's not this level of personality with any other game that I've ever played. Necromunda has got this in bucket loads of the personal investment into the game that you're playing. So this is another Munda Monday. I'll be releasing one again next Monday. I'm going to have a talk with a group and see what might be a good idea for a topic for next time. But if you have any ideas about something that you'd like us to talk about, or that you'd want some tips on, or maybe there's a gang that you'd like us to talk about in specifics on how to develop a gang, Tom's fantastic at doing the research on these gangs and things like that. Or if there's a style that you'd like to talk about, maybe talk about shooting gangs or maybe close combat gangs, see how you build around those. Anything. So just stick them in the comments, and please like and subscribe. It really helps, both with the algorithm of what's going on and also the passion that we have for keep making these videos, because I love it. It's great fun. I love putting them together, so it'd be great to have more people on that subscriber list supporting, and I just hope you enjoy it. And so, yeah, like, subscribe, comment and all that stuff. But I'll be back next Monday with another video. Not quite sure what it is yet, so I shall see you next time for another Munda Monday. So this is Simon from Tabletop Divinitatus signing off, you Hive scum. Bye.